Dawn. The spring sun rose above the pines. A bluish mist appeared over the lake. Oh, how wonderful it is to live here. The peace, the quiet, the forest. Carly thought to herself. Once again, she realized how lucky she was to be born in such a place. The people were kind and calm, and the nature was beautiful. Everything would be perfect if it weren't for Carly's age. Since childhood, she had dreamed of becoming a doctor, but as she grew older, she increasingly understood that her beloved town offered no prospects for her dream. Now, with graduation approaching, she had to make a decision. It was clear that in her hometown, there was no path to becoming a doctor. In this godforsaken town in the woods, there were no colleges. That meant she would need to move to a bigger city, like Chicago. But what would her parents say? On the other hand, with 5 kids in the family, it was tough. Her parents would surely allow her to leave. Chicago felt like a fairy tale. For a girl from a distant town, everything here was new and astonishing. The metro was a marvel. The beauty of it all made her head spin with excitement. The people, however, were all strangers, unfriendly, and there was chaos everywhere. But that wasn't important. She was here to get into college, not to sightsee. The huge crowd around the admissions office shocked Carly. She had never seen so many people in one place back in her quiet town. And here? Everyone wanted to become doctors. She couldn't imagine that so many doctors would ever be needed. Where are all these hospitals going to find jobs for them? She accidentally exclaimed out loud. Half of them won't get in, and from the other half, maybe a quarter will drop out. Some will faint in the morgue, and others won't pass their exams, replied a red-haired girl standing nearby, calmly. Hi, I'm Carly. I'm Leslie. This is my second year trying to get in. Oh, Leslie, I'm scared I won't get in either. But I'm definitely not going back home. Carly, just believe in yourself. Keep a positive attitude. That's how the girls met and later became friends as they kept meeting during the entrance exams. The decisive day arrived. They came to check the list of accepted students. Leslie's name was there. But Carly's was not. She hadn't been accepted. At first, she couldn't believe it. Everything had seemed to be going so well. So what went wrong? Carly sat on the steps of the admissions office, quietly crying in despair and hopelessness. Leslie felt sorry for her. But how could she help? All she could do was offer some comfort and advice on how to survive in Chicago for a year until the next exams. Carly, don't cry. It's not the end of the world or your life. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I went through the same thing. I cried just like you when I failed my exams. Then I got a job as a waitress. The pay is decent. A waitress? Carly asked. The money's good, and you still have time to prepare for medical school next year. Come on, stop crying. I'll show you around and tell you everything. I know how tough it is in a strange city. I'll help you. This is how Carly's adult life began. Her parents believed she was studying in medical school and were very proud of her. In reality, Carly had started working as a waitress in a restaurant. The work was tough, but she was resilient. While others could barely move their feet by the end of their shifts, she was still running around the dining area, taking orders and smiling at the customers. She saw Leslie less often now, as Leslie's studies took up most of her time. Carly also kept busy. She enrolled in preparatory courses, which made her feel more at ease. The year flew by quickly. Soon, it was time to apply to college again. Seeing your name on the acceptance list is a completely different experience. At first, it's frightening, then exhilarating. When you finally find your name, it's unbelievable. Is that really me? Or someone with the same last name? Then the anxiety fades, replaced by joy and immense relief. Yet, you can't help but keep reading the list, finding your name again and again. Are those tears? But everything is fine, I'm a student now. A student at a prestigious university. She stepped outside and sat on the steps. Just a year ago, she had been sitting in the same spot, crying out of frustration and hopelessness. And now, only a year later, everything had changed dramatically. The year had passed quickly, and only now, sitting on these steps, did she begin to understand how exhausted she was from this challenging year, working tirelessly while studying. Speaking of the restaurant, it was time to quit. She would work for one more month and then be done. She longed for sleep, but work called. She couldn't afford to relax yet. The money she had earned and saved would come in handy. Most of it, she would send to her parents, who were struggling to take care of 4 other children. The restaurant staff tried to convince her not to leave, but Carly had different goals. If she were to get practical experience, it should be in her field, in a hospital. Plus, she didn't want to jeopardize her studies. Leslie had told her that the first year was very tough and would demand all her strength. She had gotten used to the restaurant, and they had gotten used to her. She worked her final month, and when she received her final paycheck, she found that the manager had given her a substantial bonus. "Come back if you want. I'll always have a place for you," the manager told her. The days leading up to the start of classes were spent shopping. She wasn't chasing after expensive items, but she was still overjoyed. She hadn't been spoiled with things as a child. Not that she held it against her parents. They had dressed their children as best they could, giving them the best they could afford. Carly always felt their love and care. They were simple, hardworking, and honest people who raised their children the same way. She was grateful to them, proud that she could send them a significant amount of her savings. The momentous day, her first day of classes, coincided with her birthday. Now she was 19, heading to her first ever class. A real class, in a real lecture hall, surrounded by other students. The room was filled with a light buzz, making her head spin with excitement. Her dream had finally come true. The professor had barely introduced himself to the freshmen when a late student dashed into the lecture hall. He plopped down next to Carly and said, "Hi. I'm Wyatt. Do you have an extra pen?" Silently, she handed him one of her spare pens. He's cute, she thought, but quickly pushed the thought aside. She was here to study, not to get distracted. She hadn't traveled 1,000 kilometers and worked hard for a year to get sidetracked by such nonsense. The first year passed with great effort. However, it was all worth it. Carly started to understand more, and by the end of the second semester, she finally managed to get a job at a hospital. They hired her part-time as a nurse's assistant. The pay was meager, but Carly still sent most of it to her parents. How did she manage to live? She lived on her scholarship, which, fortunately, was a higher amount. Hard work and need had taken their toll. She became more prudent and matured even further. Most importantly, she began to see things realistically, not through rose-colored glasses as before. Carly's perspective on many things changed. Her attitude toward events and prospects evolved. Her view of people changed too. For instance, she became very disappointed in Wyatt. Initially, at the beginning of their college years, he seemed kind and considerate. He was polite, respectful, and often took her to the theater and movies. She enjoyed talking with him, discussing various topics, and sharing experiences. However, she found it hard to believe that this spoiled handsome guy could genuinely like her. One day, Nigel, a classmate, approached her. "Hi, Carly. I need to show you something. Don't think I'm a tattletale or anything. I happened to record this by accident. We were hanging out, and I overheard it. It made me really upset for you. It's unfair. You should decide what to do with it." Nigel pulled out his phone and played the recording. To say it hurt her would be an understatement. In the recording, she recognized the voices of Wyatt and 2 other classmates. There were other laughing people whose voices she didn't recognize. The beginning of the conversation was missing, but eventually, Carly understood that they were mocking the great Superman Wyatt, who was once again courting a simple country bumpkin. It was stated clearly and in a degrading manner that he was pursuing someone so beneath him, and they questioned how long he would stoop so low. At first, Superman half-heartedly and weakly defended himself, but then pulled himself together and claimed it was all part of a cunning plan. He said he was only pretending to like Carly so that the naive top student would help him pass his exams. He declared he was an intellectual and too busy to waste time on trivial matters. He would study what was necessary, and for everything else, he had his pocket top student. He further boasted that there was no love between him and Carly. The group laughed, now with respect for Wyatt and simultaneously, with spiteful and contemptuous laughter directed at Carly. Carly stood there, unsure of what to do next. Was Wyatt deceitful from the start with his cunning plan, or was he just a coward? Tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't want anyone to see her cry, but no matter how hard she tried to hold back, she couldn't. Nigel couldn't bear it any longer. "Damn it, I shouldn't have shown you this. I didn't think you'd take that jerk's words so personally." He deleted the recording in front of her and left. Her heart pounded as if it had been stabbed. Something inside her broke, something that couldn't be fixed. She had been betrayed like never before. Such a betrayal shook her faith in people. But she had learned a valuable lesson and would never be so trusting and naive again. Lying in bed that evening, she concluded that she just needed to endure this, move on, and keep going. It wasn't the end of the world, just a lesson she had yet to fully understand. One day, in her 4th year, Carly attended an art exhibition. Leslie had given her the tickets. Exhibitions were rare events in Carly's hometown, so she didn't know much about art. However, she enjoyed the atmosphere, a peaceful escape from the city's noise, where landscapes, portraits, and still lives made her feel like she had stepped into another world. Suddenly, one painting caught her attention. Was it about the end of summer? No, it was autumn. She felt a chill. Why? Perhaps because the painting was incredibly realistic. Indeed, Carly felt an urge to open an umbrella to avoid getting wet and to wrap her coat tighter. She was so engrossed that, stepping back to get a better view, she accidentally stepped on someone's foot. It was a young man. "Sorry," Carly whispered. He was about 25 and responded humorously, assuring her it was no big deal and that it was actually a pleasure. Naturally, they spent the rest of the exhibition together. Jeremy, as he introduced himself, was a painting restorer. He didn't mind that Carly didn't know much about art. On the contrary, he enjoyed sharing his knowledge, and Carly was glad to have such an unexpected guide. Somehow, she ended up giving Jeremy her phone number and telling him where she lived. After finishing the exhibition, they stepped outside together. "Can I give you a ride?" "I have a car," Jeremy offered. "I'm sorry, but I don't know you well enough. I'll get home on my own." She hurried to the bus stop. Back in her room, she felt a fantastic euphoria and tried to relax while half listening to her roommate's questions about where she had been. Carly just smiled foolishly, recalling the wonderful evening. She felt both sleepy and restless, with the images of the paintings still swirling in her mind. Suddenly, her phone beeped. She read the message. "Thank you," she whispered as sleep gently embraced her. It was a message from Jeremy, wishing her a good night. He hadn't been this charmed by a girl in a long time. Carly was special, a completely guileless and shy creature. He especially liked her because she refused to get into his car. How many girls like that could you find in Chicago? Probably none. Yes, she definitely intrigued him. The more he thought about their accidental meeting, the more he fantasized about her. Eventually, he became so enamored that he firmly decided to marry her. Nothing less. Interestingly, he didn't consider what Carly might want. He forgot. Forgot from happiness. Or maybe he was so confident in himself that he had no doubts. Why not? He was a good guy, handsome, tall, and slender. He had graduated from the University of Art Restoration, started working in museums, became an excellent specialist, succeeded in his field, and then left to work for himself. Within 5 years, he managed to buy a small apartment. He had never been married, and at 27, he stood out among his colleagues with his pleasant manners. His gentle smile and the ease with which he expressed his opinions made him likable and could easily win the hearts of the most striking women. As the only bachelor in their group, he constantly drew the attention of his friends, who were always trying to set him up with someone. But Jeremy showed no interest in these new acquaintances. None of the women they introduced him to appealed to him. His friends eventually gave up. After all, if a person wants to remain single, why interfere? The important thing was that he was happy and content with his current status. And suddenly, Carly caught his eye. He liked her spontaneity, natural beauty, and even her naivety. It was incredible. She would blush whenever he sent her messages wishing her good night or good morning. It was strange. She liked it but never responded, which hurt him deeply. Was this love or just infatuation? Maybe it was mere curiosity. Or perhaps it was nothing at all, just an interesting guy she met. Oh, everything needed to be understood and comprehended. But Leslie had already made up her mind. So, spill it. Why are you so quiet? Are you in love? She asked. No, of course not. I enjoy our meetings, but can that really be called love? Carly replied. Sweetie, that's exactly how love starts. Take Nigel, for instance, your friend. Does your heart race around him? No. But Jeremy makes you nervous. He has to work hard to open your heart to this beautiful feeling. He has to try hard to wake up our beauty, right? Leslie said. Leslie, you should be a psychologist. Oh, come on. Every doctor is a bit of a psychologist. They work with people. Jeremy seemed to sense that his efforts weren't in vain. He knew his beauty was gradually giving in. She no longer feared getting into his car, and once, he even managed to kiss her. From the way she clumsily kissed back, he could tell Carly had no one before him. One day, after 6 months, he dared to invite her over for dinner. He took a risk, but she declined. It's too far to get to college from your place. This time, he retreated, temporarily backing off and not rushing things. In her 5th year, right after the winter exams, he proposed to her. She had an inkling it was coming and felt ready to share her life with him. Still, she didn't say yes immediately. Instead, she asked for time to think it over. She had read in books that this was the proper way to handle such matters. After finishing her 5th year, Carly decided to take a vacation, the first since she started working at the hospital. She needed to visit her parents and introduce them to her future husband. She couldn't get married without their blessing. Her mother opened the door. She seemed shorter and a bit older. Usually so reserved, she threw her arms around her daughter and burst into tears, whispering how much she missed her and thanking her for all the help. Carly introduced Jeremy to her parents. Meet my mom, Lydia, and my dad, David. The men shook hands, and everyone was invited to the table. Carly noticed her father watching Jeremy closely, scrutinizing his every move. David didn't like how attentive Jeremy was to his daughter, how he seemed to anticipate her needs. He felt there was no warmth in their relationship, no sincerity. What should he do? Tell his daughter and upset her? Or say nothing and risk a grave mistake? He couldn't let her stay in the dark about Jeremy not being the right man for her. Near midnight, when her mother went to make the beds, David confronted her. David, how should I make up the beds? Together or separately? She asked. Why together? They're not married yet, are they? No, not yet. There's your answer. David replied irritably and went out for a smoke. He couldn't even explain to himself why he was so angry. It was likely jealousy. After all, she was his daughter. A father's jealousy towards another man. And of course, he wasn't ready. It was hard for him to accept that his daughter had grown up and that it was time to hand her over to this outsider. Perhaps Jeremy wasn't so bad and would be a good husband to her. But David still didn't like him. First, he found him too handsome. Where was the guarantee that he wouldn't cheat if other women pursued him? And they surely would. Then there was his profession, an art restorer. What would he be restoring? Would there always be a demand for his work? Could he provide a comfortable life for his daughter? Lydia called David to bed twice, but he kept thinking. Finally, he decided to talk to his daughter tomorrow. But suddenly, the door opened, and when David turned to the creaking sound, he saw Jeremy standing there. "Ah, there you are. I want to talk to you," David said. "You know, Jeremy, I'm a straightforward man. I say what I think. And I think you don't truly love my daughter. I don't feel any warmth in your words, and I'm not sure about your feelings. What do you have to say about that?" Jeremy responded calmly. "I'm a straightforward man too. And I'll tell you this, no one could make me marry without love. I saw Carly in the museum, and I liked her immediately. Girls like her don't exist anymore. She's pure, modest, gentle, and kind. I could go on listing her virtues, but you, as her father, know her better than I do." He paused, then added with a sigh, "Don't worry, I won't hurt her. I will love and cherish her. A man's word." He extended his hand to Carly's father. David stared into his eyes intensely, making Jeremy uneasy. After a pause, David shook his hand. He hadn't entirely changed his opinion, but he felt somewhat reassured. Returning to Chicago, they immediately filed for a marriage license and got married a month later. Carly took her husband's surname and became Carly Stewart. She moved out of the dormitory and into her husband's apartment, and Jeremy drove her to the university every day. Jeremy insisted that Carly quit her job, but she refused, as she was still helping her parents and had become accustomed to her work at the hospital, where she planned to continue after graduation. Upon graduating, Carly was happily employed at the hospital. She had built a good reputation there. However, a year into her job, she became pregnant. Life had its way, and they welcomed a baby boy, a little copy of Jeremy. When Roddy turned 3, Carly returned to work, and they hired a nanny for him. The nanny, a relative of one of Jeremy's friends, was a woman in her 50s who handled her duties exceptionally well. One day, after sending Roddy out for a walk with the nanny, Carly decided to do some thorough cleaning. But a doorbell interrupted her, and she turned off the vacuum cleaner. Standing at the door was Jeremy's friend, slightly drunk but still aware of where he was and who he was talking to. "Hello, Carly, can I come in?" he asked. "George, you know Jeremy is on a business trip and won't be back for 3 days. Come back then. Right now, I'm busy cleaning while the kid is out." "It's good that you're alone," George replied. "What do you mean?" "The nanny and Roddy will be back soon. I won't keep you long," he said as he stepped inside. "George, is it something urgent?" "Carly, I like you a lot. I've wanted to marry you for a long time. Jeremy doesn't appreciate you, but I would." He then confidently tried to embrace her. "Listen, smart guy. First, learn to appreciate and love your own wife. Then maybe I'll believe you're capable of it. But why would I need this? Get out of here now, and I promise I'll forget you were ever here. And I won't tell Jeremy. If you don't want to lose a friend, don't come to our house without him again," Carly said, pushing him out the door. Just as Carly was stepping away from the door, she heard a woman's voice. "I knew you'd come here." "What, they won't let you in, scoundrel." "Good. Well done, Carly." This was followed by the loud sound of a slap. "Serves him right." Too bad Carly didn't get to finish her cleaning. 10 years passed quickly. Roddy was now in the 3rd grade and attended art school, where he showed a great talent for drawing. Their nanny, Mrs. Mayers, continued to work for Carly and Jeremy. Jeremy's earnings were substantial, allowing them to move into a new 3-bedroom apartment. Father and son even had their own studio. Jeremy was away again, this time called to a distant location to restore an ancient painting. A month passed, but he hadn't returned. He called once to say he would be delayed, which had happened before, so Carly wasn't worried at first. But when another month passed, she became anxious. A bad feeling gnawed at her heart. She tried to stay busy around the house, but nothing went right. She started making calls to find out what was going on. The calls only made things worse. No matter how busy Jeremy had been before, he always found time to call his wife, ask how she was, and check on their son. But this time, she couldn't even reach him. A couple of days later, Carly decided to go straight to the senior manager at Jeremy's company, Bill, after work. He surely must know the address where Jeremy was sent. Seeing Carly, Bill asked worriedly if something had happened, and she replied in a shaky voice. "Yes, something has happened. Phyllis, put the kettle on. Carly's here," he called out and invited her into his office. "Do you know where exactly Jeremy went? I can't reach him. I feel something terrible has happened. Give me the address, and I'll fly out to him tomorrow. He surely needs my help." "Why such dreadful thoughts, Carly? Tell me everything from the beginning." 2 months ago, he left for a business trip. It seemed like nothing out of the ordinary. His expertise as a restoration specialist was needed. At first, I wasn't worried, but after a month, he called to say he would be delayed. That was unusual for a simple consultation. Then another month passed with no news from him. I called, but no one answered. "Bill, I'm on edge, I don't understand what's happening. What do I tell our child?" Bill could barely understand her through her sobs and hiccups. "I've completely fallen apart. I can't cry at home because Roddy will see. He keeps asking about his dad, and I don't know what to tell him. I thought maybe you could help." Just then, Bill's wife brought in tea and a delicious homemade biscuit. "Here's what I'll tell you, Carly. First, calm down. Nothing terrible has happened yet, and you're already mourning him. If something bad had happened, we would surely know by now. But we've had no news from him for a month. I don't know what's going on. Carly, unfortunately, I don't know the address he went to. He told me the same thing he told you. He sent photos of the paintings he was supposed to restore. That's all I know. Calm down. Tell me, how can I help you? Do you want me to call him from my phone? If for some reason he isn't answering your calls, he might pick up when he sees my number." He immediately dialed Jeremy's number. However, no one answered. After 3 minutes, Bill tried again, but with the same result. "Carly, go home. Your son is probably waiting for you. I'll keep trying to reach him. As soon as I have any news, I'll let you know right away." Learning nothing new, Carly returned home. Before entering the apartment, she composed herself, thinking positively for her son's sake, and walked in with a smile. "Mommy, why were you gone so long?" "Work, sweetheart, work. How are you doing?" "Everything's fine." The cheerful boy ran off to his room. "No news?" asked Mrs. Mayers. "None. I'm going crazy from the uncertainty." "Carly, would you mind if I stayed the night?" asked the nanny. "It's late, and I'll be back early tomorrow." "Of course, stay. I'd feel much better with you here." Bill finally managed to reach Jeremy. "Finally, you picked up. Is everything okay?" "Yeah, something happened, Bill. I fell in love. I love another woman, and don't you dare shame me or call me a scoundrel. I just want to be happy. No, I will call you an idiot. You simply don't realize what a gem you've just thrown away. You're a grown, experienced man, and you're acting like this. But has Carly deserved this treatment? She's going crazy. The son is in tears all the time, and she, poor thing, doesn't know how to comfort him, doesn't know where to find you. Do you realize she's about to come looking for you? But where will you find such a loyal soul again? There was tense silence on the line. Jeremy, be a man, gather some courage, and call her. Tell her the truth. Yes, it will hurt her, a lot, but at least she'll know you're alive and just decided to leave her after 10 years together. For some strange love. Unclear to whom and where. That's how simple it is. New love. But what about your son? Have you thought about that? Well, I'll send them money. You're an idiot, Jeremy. Why would your son need your money? I'm sure Carly will refuse it. Do you hear me? Call her, talk to your wife, be a man. How long will you keep hiding? Or do you think everything will just sort itself out? No, it doesn't work that way. It's time to make a decision. And you need to come back and tell her face to face. Not whine over the phone, but man up, look her in the eye. Got it? Bill, stop pressuring me, I feel sick enough already. Sick. So sick that you fell in love? Your wife will feel sick when she finds out what a jerk her husband is. Bill, furious, clutched his chest. Phyllis, do we have anything for the heart? I'm so upset. Poor Carly. Can you believe it, Phyllis, this idiot fell in love. He has a smart wife, a talented son, and he fell in love. Poor Carly, she doesn't deserve this. Remember what you told me at their wedding? You were right, my dear. After the conversation with his friend, Jeremy couldn't sit still. What would he tell his wife? The truth? At that moment, he heard his new girlfriend's voice. Jeremy, honey, when are you coming? I can't sleep without you. He shuddered at her words. Go to sleep, I won't be coming anytime soon. He was already dialing his wife's number. He lit a cigarette, it made him feel better, as if the smoke was his salvation. Jeremy. I'm so glad you're alive. Too bad Roddy's asleep, he misses you so much. He asks every day, where's his daddy? How are you? When are you coming home? Are you okay, honey? Never. I'm staying here. I love another woman. She staggered and sank into a chair. Her husband's words hit her like a lash. It was unexpected. At first, she even thought she misheard. His voice seemed not just foreign but as if it came from another galaxy. No, of course, it was his voice. But what did he just say? He said he wasn't coming back. Her head was spinning. No, this was some kind of nonsense, Jeremy just said something incomprehensible. She wanted to ask him something, but her voice was gone. So she listened to her husband without interrupting, and gradually, she realized what had happened. Something irreparable. It's forever. It happens, you know. I fell in love. She's young. I draw inspiration from her. You see, she's my muse. There's a lot of work here, so I'll be sending you money. Got it? I'll send you money for Roddy, so you won't be in need. By the time he finished speaking, she had somewhat regained her composure. You know, I never thought I'd hear such words from you. We don't need anything from you. If we're not needed by you, then you're not needed by us, and certainly not your money. Trader's money. So, you found someone else, she said quietly, wiping away tears and suffering from the pain in her heart. Well, yes. You know, I'm not sure about anything yet, but these 2 months have turned my whole life upside down. She's so young and innocent. Those words about her youth just crushed her. The knife in her heart wasn't just thrust in, it was cruelly twisted without being pulled out. She's innocent. God, how could he so easily abandon everything after 10 years of life together? Just because he thought he fell in love. The woman silently cried, resting her head in her hands, waiting for his response. But he remained silent too. They both were silent. "You're not even sure about anything, and you're already leaving your son. What should I tell a child who thinks his dad is the best?" But those words stayed in her heart, and aloud she said only one thing. "I understand then, the conversation is over." "Is that all you wanted to say?" "Yes, you got it right." "Well then, goodbye Jeremy. I'll file for divorce myself. There's no us for you anymore," she said, and hung up. He felt even worse than before the call, but it was done. He no longer had a family, he needed to start over. But he would still send money to his son, at least that way he would be involved in his life. All the money transfers he sent were returned. So, after a year of futile attempts, he stopped sending money. Carly was supported by her husband's friends. She gradually recovered from the stress. It was good that Mrs. Mayers was there to support her. And work also saved her. A year passed, and Carly was free again. She took a long time to get used to this new status for herself, but the increased attention from men constantly reminded her of it. Especially one surgeon, whom she hired to work. He was a talented, hard-working doctor. Coming to the surgery department, he changed a lot, improving the work of the entire department. Of course, Carly forbade herself from opening her heart to any courtship. She closed her heart and threw away the key so that no one could enter. But Sawyer's persistent courtship gave tiny, still timid shoots of agreement, in the form of agreeing to take a walk along the embankment or having a cup of coffee. The man considered this a great victory. Life was gradually getting back on track. Everything except one thing. Roddy kept asking where his dad was. He asked, and she stubbornly assured him that his dad's business trip wouldn't end, that his dad had a lot of work but remembered his beloved son and would be home soon. But time passed, and Dad didn't show up. At first, the child missed him a lot, it was evident. But gradually, he stopped asking and, therefore, stopped waiting. She tried to spend all her free time with him. One day Roddy saw her with Sawyer, and Carly felt like everything inside her snapped and cooled down, as if she were a silly girl caught by her mother with a boy. "Mom, who is this mister?" "Son, this is Sawyer, he's also a doctor. We work together. He's a very good surgeon." "A surgeon? That's a tough profession. They told us at school how surgeons worked during the war." "I'm Roddy," he said, shaking the man's hand. "Nice to meet you, young man." "I'm Sawyer. Want to go to the dolphinarium?" "Yes, I'd be interested to see." "Mom, how about you?" "I'm like you." "Then it's settled. I'll pick you up." After this meeting, Sawyer began to visit Carly's home more often. He never came empty-handed: flowers, chocolates, champagne, toys for the child. He also didn't forget about Mrs. Mayers. More than 2 years had passed. Carly was already calmly accepting the courtship of her colleague. She hadn't heard anything from her husband, and she didn't want to hear anything. But, apparently, fate had different plans for her. Gradually, everything was moving towards Carly ceasing to be a single woman. How did she feel about it? It was complicated. She both wanted it and feared it. She didn't want to get married, she just wanted to live. But Sawyer didn't even want to hear about it. He believed that it belittled a woman. One evening he came to her house, brought Roddy, and asked for the boy's mother's hand. "Roddy, you're a big boy now. You must understand me. You see, Roddy, I love your mom. I love her very much, but I want to ask you, as a man to man, Roddy, would you mind if we get married? We've known each other for almost 3 years now. And we want to be together." The boy was already big and clever, studying in the 6th grade, and he fully understood what Sawyer was talking about, but even in his developing logic, everything was not so simple. "You're good, but what if Dad comes back, and Mom is married, what then?" "Well, then your dad will find another woman and marry her." No, I don't want that. I want Dad to marry Mom, he shouted and went to his room. The adults were shocked. Both she and Sawyer needed to think everything over, to understand the situation that had arisen. And one day Carly decided to tell her son the whole truth. He was already grown up and should understand her. She sat the boy opposite her, took his hands in hers, and said, "Son, you're the only man I'll never stop loving. I'll do everything to make you happy, even if Sawyer appears in our house." The boy understood what his mother was getting at and tried to pull his hands away. She attempted to hug him, but he pulled away again. "Don't rush, son. A man should be patient. Listen to me. So, even if another man appears here, I won't love you any less. And Dad? Dad won't be with us anymore. I wanted him to be here, just like you did. But Dad decided differently. He fell in love with another woman and stayed with her. He left us and forgot about us. Is that true? You're saying bad things about Dad just so your surgeon can live here. But I want Dad to live with us, and only Dad. Roddy, I wanted that too, but understand, you want it, I want it, but that's not what Dad wants. He has another woman. He left us and stayed with her. In 3 years, he hasn't even called you once, even though he knows your phone number. Why don't I ever call him? Then call him. Here's his phone number." The child dialed his father's number, but the subscriber was not available. He dialed again and again, and then burst into tears out of resentment. "I understand, Mom. I understand, did he really stop loving us? Well, what can we do now, son? And do you love your surgeon?" "Yes, son, he's a good person, we have some things in common, it's interesting to be with him. And you know, he treats you very well. And that's the most important thing for me. Okay, get married, but I still love Dad." In her office the next morning, she told Sawyer about her conversation with her son. "You know, he said it to me straight. Okay, get married." With such a serious face. I almost burst out laughing. "But it's not funny, Carly. It's very serious for him. It's a big step for a boy. And it means a lot. So, it means we got approval from the main man in your life." In the evening, she wanted to surprise her son. She was planning to announce that they would all go on a trip to the islands for their honeymoon. However, a surprise awaited her at home. As soon as she entered the apartment, her son ran out with a joyful cry. "Mom! Mom! Dad's back! Dad's back for good. And you said he fell in love with another woman. You lied to me." And there came Jeremy, a bit older, probably like her, and knelt before her. "Forgive me, if you can. I can't and I won't. Get up and stop humiliating yourself. It's disgusting. Carly, don't you dare. Don't dare call me that. You're despicable. You're a traitor. But I realize that I love only you. Don't you dare, you hear me, even soil that word with your filthy tongue. I'm telling the truth. Yes, it took me time to understand how much I love you. But you don't love me, you only love yourself and your comfort. Do I look like a woman who collects leftovers? What leftovers? You scoundrel. You were used, thrown away like garbage, and according to you, I should pick up those discarded leftovers. I'm disgusted to use anything or anyone after your flings. Carly. Get out of here, coward and traitor. I've said everything, leave. But I have nowhere to go. If we're talking about it, this is my apartment too. Fine, then we'll leave. My son and I will find a place of our own. And you scumbag, stay here with your flings, which I'm sure will appear next to you very soon. You always tried to make sure only you were comfortable. And she started packing her things. Good riddance, free-spirited artist. Okay, calm down. I'll find a place to stay. When Roddy came out and didn't see his father, the boy had a tantrum. It was terrifying. Carly's heart stopped. He raised his voice at her for the first time. He was screaming in a tantrum that he hated her. And she was in shock. Her hands dropped. She had never felt so bad before, not even when she found out about Jeremy. After all, this was her son. Her only son said he hated her. Son, don't say those words that you'll regret later. You want to live with Dad? Fine, but I don't want to live with your dad. He betrayed me, traded me for another woman. Do you propose I live with a traitor? Today he betrayed me, and tomorrow he'll betray you. Heck, he already betrayed you for so many years, not a single letter or call. Son, understand that you're not needed by him. Alright, I won't stop you, please, communicate with your dad. If you want, communicate. But he won't live here. Where will he live? I don't know, and why should I think about it after what he's done? That's his business. Maybe he'll rent an apartment, or maybe he'll find another lady and go to her. Then I'll live with Dad. Son, you're not listening to me. Have you thought it through? Live with him if he doesn't run off to some muse again. He said he loves me. Well, of course, he said that to me too, and then suddenly fell in love with someone else. It's easy for him. But once someone lies, there's no more trust. She cried all night, afraid that her son would indeed go live with his father. The pain from everything her son had said didn't fade. In the morning, they silently had breakfast and went about their day, each to their own tasks, without saying goodbye. In the evening, after Carly's trip to the store, as she climbed the stairs to her home, her mind was racing, contemplating how to talk to Roddy. But her son wasn't home. And it was already 8 o'clock on the clock, yet the house remained eerily quiet. Carly couldn't sit still. The anxiety was growing. Suddenly, the front door slammed shut. Joyful and excited voices echoed. In came her father and son, both in high spirits. Without exchanging a word, they walked past her into the workshop. Not a greeting, not even a glance in her direction. From there, she could hear their conversations and laughter. They were having a good time together. Yes. Undoubtedly, they didn't want her here anymore. She unloaded the groceries and left. Leslie, are you home? Can I come in? When Carly rang the doorbell, she knew she would be welcomed here. They had known each other for so many years that they were more than just friends, almost like sisters. When family is far away, and there's a friend right there, close by. And she knows all your secrets. Even better than family. Leslie opened the door, her face dusted with flour. She was baking something because the smell of vanilla enveloped Carly as soon as she stepped into the apartment. Good to see you, come in, she said warmly. Little Sandy came running out. She was 3 years younger than Carly's son. Hello, Aunt Carly. The girl was covered from head to toe in flour and made a funny impression. I came at the right time. It smells delicious here. We're always happy to have you, Leslie said, cutting a slice of pie for her guest. Leslie, can I stay with you for a couple of days? I have some minor problems in my family. I need to think about a lot. A lot? Carly asked. Of course, dear. Stay as long as you need, Leslie replied. Thank you, I love you so much. Sandy had already gone to bed, and the two longtime friends were still sitting and talking. Unfortunately, they saw each other less often after college, but they never lost touch, and they knew everything about each other. Over the years, Leslie had become a skilled surgeon, and although many considered this profession to be male-dominated, she had such skill and reaction that any man would envy her. Leslie's family life had also turned out well. Her husband headed the largest private clinic where she worked as the head of the surgical department. At the moment, her husband was abroad at a symposium, and they could talk calmly, knowing that no one would disturb them. Listening to her friend, Leslie couldn't believe her ears. He said that? God, what a scoundrel. That's not manly at all. You did the right thing, Carly, leaving him. You can't allow yourself to be humiliated like that, to have your child turned against you. It's very mean to try to sway the child to your side. But pull yourself together and don't worry. I think Roddy will realize who's who. And that his mom is the best. And that dad of his is just a scumbag. Although in one thing, I agree with your ex. A boy needs a father. But Roddy is finding it hard to choose between you two, the most important people in his life. He's growing up. You and I, as doctors, understand perfectly well that there's a lot of restructuring going on in the body at this age. There's a rapid change in mood, unstable psyche, and Jeremy is taking advantage of that. Don't doubt it, your son loves you, but he hasn't seen his father in a long time, so he missed him. Jeremy was his mentor, taught him a lot. They spent a lot of time together, and the child wants to return all that. To return everything to how it was, understand? Because of his age, he doesn't understand that his father is manipulating him to get his mother back and forgive him. Leslie, can you imagine, he's been gone for 3 years. And now he wants to fix everything and bring back love. But how do you bring it back? I don't have any love left for him, not even respect as a man. Look at what he's done. Because of a moment of weakness, he's shattered so many lives. Abandoning his child for some very young muse. I wonder what happened to that muse now. Did she stop inspiring him or just got 3 years older? And now what? Is he going to look for a new one? And disappear again for 3 years? I saw that he loved me, fulfilled my every wish, always wanted to surprise me, I saw that. Don't trust your eyes. Sometimes they deceive you, Leslie sadly smiled. Oh, Leslie, if I had somewhere to go, I'd leave tomorrow just to avoid seeing all this nastiness and meanness. Well, I can help you with that. You see, my husband's aunt passed away. She left an apartment, but there's one downside. It's a single room, but spacious, with high ceilings. We did a wonderful renovation there. And if you want, you can move in right now. Live there until you sort out all your problems. And how much do I have to pay? Oh, forget about that. If it suits you, just pay for utilities and live. Leslie, that sounds perfect. Thank you so much. You've solved part of my problems. Oh, my friend, you're my favorite. Tonight, I'll stay at your place, and tomorrow I'll move to the new apartment. I'll have time to think everything over calmly. In the morning, Leslie gave Carly the keys to her aunt's apartment. After work, Carly came home to pack everything she needed. Thankfully, there was no one at home, and no one disturbed her packing. But as she was about to leave, Jeremy showed up. It's good that I caught you. We need to talk. No, you need to talk, but I don't. Let me go, I'm in a hurry. Sit down and calm down, he said, roughly pushing her into a chair. Understand, I'm not going to persuade you to live with me. But the son will stay with me. Understand, he needs a man by his side, with whom he can discuss some boyish matters. Topics that are uncomfortable to discuss with mom. What kind of topics can't a 13-year-old discuss with his mom? Carly smirked. There are such, believe me, but that's not what I'm talking about now. We'll sell the apartment. So decide. If you don't want to live with me, then you won't live with the son either. I'm giving you a week to think it over. In a week, I'll put up an ad for sale. And that's it. Jeremy, tell me, why do you need this? Let's just sell the apartment, you'll find yourself another, new, young muse, and live in pleasure. You can keep in touch with the son, I don't mind. But now you're turning everything upside down, as if I abandoned the family 3 years ago for some sublime unearthly love. You're a grown man, but you're messing with the boy's head with the wrong things. And what if you get another muse tomorrow? Where will you hide the child? How will you explain to him that dad has a new love? Will you say that? Let's solve problems as they come. Well, great, so you consider the child a problem. Actually, I sincerely wish Roddy not to be disappointed in you as a father. He believes in you. He believes that you love him and came back forever. Don't deceive the child in his next expectations. Don't worry, I won't deceive him. She grabbed her bags and left the apartment. Jeremy watched from the window as his wife's car slowly pulled out of the yard. You won't escape. You'll come back anyway, he whispered with a sneering smirk. Carly liked the apartment. It was spacious, bright, with 2 windows along the long wall. Very cozy. The atmosphere had nothing extra, just the way she liked it. She immediately took a shower, then went to bed, but sleep somehow eluded her. There was too much weighing on her, and too much tangled up. For example, although she considered Jeremy guilty of the family discord, she didn't absolve herself of responsibility either. Maybe she was also guilty of something. But what? What did she do wrong? What did she miss? Why did her husband become interested in someone else? Maybe she didn't take care of herself enough. Got married and stopped striving to be the best. In reality, Jeremy considered her almost the perfect wife. An excellent housewife, always managing everything. As a woman, she suited him in every way. She had everything: gentleness, passion, femininity. She was devilishly sexy, he always looked at her with desire. All the time they lived together, Jeremy was crazy about his wife. But when he saw that young, beautiful, audacious, extraordinary woman, he couldn't take his eyes off her. No, she wasn't better than Carly. She was just different. Different manners, different gait, different gestures, different voice. Everything was different. Unexplored. And this unexplored thing attracted him. What was it? The phenomenon of an unread book, a thirst for novelty? Or maybe he simply didn't understand that, despite her youth, she mastered the art of seduction to perfection. He saw in her a new love, a new unexplored beauty, charm, mystery, and most importantly, youth. Something that neither he nor Carly would ever have again. Yes, he liked her insanely, to madness. He wanted her immediately, without hesitation. He was simply shaken by the wild, completely animal desire to possess her. He lost his mind completely and even neglected his work. Of course, he received a serious warning. It sobered him up a bit, and from then on, he drew a clear line between love and work. But not everything was smooth in their relationship. When he once saw his girlfriend with another man, he got into a fight. But she stopped him with just one look. She stopped him, saying that she was a free woman and could date whoever she wanted. After that, she didn't answer his calls for 2 days, and he couldn't catch her at home. And then, after 2 days of torment, he broke down. Promised to call his wife and announce the divorce. And he would stay with her, his beloved, forever. After that, they started living together. But try as the girl might to get Jeremy to marry her, she couldn't. Marriage became the first serious reason for their quarrels. Offended, she shouted that he only needed her in words, otherwise he would have officially married her long ago. Right after their fights, she demonstratively went off to some youth party and didn't come back to sleep. Offended, he flew to Chicago without waiting for her explanations. Several days had passed since his return, but Camilla had not made any contact. The longer she played silent, the more burdensome his thoughts became. She appeared in his dreams every night, and each time, the scenarios became more torturous. At first, Jeremy thought that if things didn't work out with Carly, maybe Camilla would move to Chicago. They would move and live as a family. But those were just dreams. With each passing day, they became more ephemeral. Until one day, he realized that no one was planning to move to Chicago with him. He was just another phase. That evening, Roddy came home. "Dad, where's Mom?" "I don't know, she hasn't stayed home for 2 nights. But don't worry, she's an adult. Probably handling some things." And if she's doing this, she must think it's the right thing to do. And you're not worried about her at all? No, I know she's a serious woman. She just needs to think about the situation. What situation? His son didn't understand and looked at his father. You were gone for 3 whole years. You created this situation, and now you talk about it so calmly. Well, yeah, Jeremy reluctantly agreed. Really? Did you fall in love with another woman? Did your mom tell you that? No, at first she told me you were on a long business trip. She defended you till the end. But I'm not 3 anymore, I understood everything. I still had hope though. I believed you'd come back to us. I really did. But you didn't. And then I realized you weren't coming back. Mom thought I was still a little kid and didn't understand anything. She protected me, but I understood everything and stopped asking about you. And then, when everything became clear, 2 days before your return, she told me the truth about the woman you fell in love with. But I didn't believe her and treated her badly. Roddy bit his lip and was silent for a long time. It was clear that something was bothering him, and then he broke down. I was wrong. Mom has the right to be happy. If you left her, if you left us, she has the right to her own happiness. I was wrong. I'll grow up, and she'll be left alone, completely alone. And now someone wants to marry her. But I, like a little fool, said such things to her. Mom's getting married? Yes. To a surgeon. To whom? To a doctor. They work together. And you know, she's still very beautiful, everyone looks at her. Wow. Is that why she doesn't want to live here anymore? What do you mean? Mom's not coming back here. Roddy was surprised. Be a man. You said yourself you're not 3 anymore. Let Mom live her life with her surgeon. We'll live our own life here. We're good together. Mom will live separately. No, I don't want that. I want to live with Mom and you. I understand, but it's Mom's fault. She's angry at me and doesn't want to forgive me. So we decided to live separately. But that's not fair. I hurt Mom a lot when I defended you. And you hurt her too. And now she's the one at fault. She told me the truth. Dad, do you love me? Of course, how could I not love a son like you? Then why didn't you call me even once? I called you, but you didn't answer. Your mom didn't allow me to call you. Now you're lying, Dad. Mom told me to call you, especially when she saw how much I missed you. Alright, son, now we'll never be apart. I love you and won't leave you. At that moment, the doorbell rang. Look, your dear mom is back, and you were worried, Jeremy said with relief. He flung the door open wide, but it wasn't his wife. Standing before him was Camilla. Pack up, I'm here for you. Let's go, I'm pregnant and not planning on getting an abortion. So, get ready quickly and straight to the airport. I don't have much time. If it weren't for his son, who was clearly on edge, he would have immediately bolted and run after Camilla. Even though he knew perfectly well that after this, there would be no way back. Camilla, you see, I can't leave right now because, well, my son is home alone. You know what? He began to stammer awkwardly, you go ahead. I'll come later. He tried to speak as quietly as possible so his son wouldn't hear. But how could he not hear, standing right behind him? Obviously, this awkward scene didn't bring him any joy. He had dreamed of this woman and waited for her, but not in such an embarrassing situation. Well, then I'll stay too. We're leaving together or not at all, she said, rudely pushing past Jeremy into the apartment. Dad, who is this? Go, boy, the adults are talking here. Dad, what are you doing? Mom could come back any minute. Son, go, this lady will leave soon. Go on, boy. But this lady isn't going anywhere. Roddy retreated to another room and closed the door behind him. You can't stay here. This is not just my apartment, it's also my son's and my ex-wife's. Well, ex-wife. And I'm the current one. Jeremy stood frozen. Everything happening felt like a nightmare. No, this wasn't how he had imagined any of it. He stood there, his head buzzing, Camilla's voice reaching him as if through cotton. He didn't want anything anymore, feeling only a sense of doom and entrapment. And something needed to be decided urgently. Because he had no choice left. Listen, how about I rent you an apartment or a hotel room? And I'll come tomorrow too. I already told you, I'll leave here under one condition, that you come with me now to that hotel, or you'll regret it. Camilla, are you threatening me? Oh, you're such a softie. Did you think I would raise the child alone? No, my dear. Only together and only in marriage. Decide, I stay here, or we leave together. But what about my son? What son? Don't you understand that I can't leave him alone? The only child I'm concerned about, she said, patting her stomach, is this one. Fine, where's your ex? Jeremy felt sick from the pressure. His sensitive nature realized he was backed into a corner. And he also knew that if he told the truth, that Carly no longer lived here, he wouldn't be able to get Camilla out. Well, she went to the store. She'll be back soon. Great, she'll be back soon. So there's nothing to worry about. Your kid won't be alone. Let's go, get ready. Roddy. Roddy, son, I'll see this lady out and be right back. He felt terribly ashamed in front of his son. Roddy looked at him with wide, confused eyes, unable to say anything. Firstly, all his ideals had just been shattered. His father, once so wise and strong, now seemed like a spineless fool. And secondly, he was simply afraid of this brazen woman his father was bending over backwards for. He felt an excruciating shame that this was his father. It was astonishing that his father had created this disgraceful situation, yet it was the son who wished he could disappear. Everything was lost. The ground had fallen out from under his feet. As soon as the door closed behind him, Roddy called his mother. She was thrilled to hear her son's voice. Mom, hi. Hello, Roddy. How are you? How's school? I'm good. Mom, are you coming home today? Do you want me to? Mom, please come quickly. I know I hurt you, and you were right. Please come home right now. What made you change your mind, son? He ignored her question and repeated his plea. Mom, come home. I'm alone, and I feel really bad. I'm home alone. Please come back. She checked the time, it was almost 10 p.m. Where's your dad? What happened? Son, what's going on? Mom, please just come home. I'll tell you everything. Just come now, okay? Come back to me, Mom. She jumped into action. Overcome with worry, she sped home. Her son needed her, and he needed her right now. Breaking the speed limit, she arrived home in 30 minutes. Unlocking the door with her key, she entered the apartment and saw her son sleeping on the couch, still dressed, as if he had waited for her until he couldn't stay awake any longer. She quickly made his bed, undressed him, and half asleep but comforted, he made his way to the bed and fell right back to sleep. She walked through the apartment, checking everything. What was wrong? What had changed? In the hallway, she found a woman's handbag, which she noted was quite expensive. Opening it, she found an ultrasound report indicating that the visitor was pregnant. She also saw expensive makeup and a small bottle of water. How is he going to look his son in the eye? Carly wondered. She poured herself a cup of tea, enjoying her evening ritual of sitting in silence, reflecting on the day, and making plans for tomorrow. She was startled by an unexpected phone call and answered quietly, not wanting to wake her son. Hello. Carly, it's Jeremy. Can you come home right now? Roddy shouldn't be alone. Where are you? On another business trip? No, I had to step out. I got held up at work. Jeremy, when did you turn from a man into a worthless coward? Or have you always been one, and I just didn't notice? My son called me in a panic, saying you abandoned him, understand? You abandoned him again. You betrayed him. Again. For that scoundrel. You were in such a hurry to get to her that you left her bag in the hallway. I can imagine what kind of work you have that keeps you out all night. And why this work makes it okay to leave your child in such a state. I recently asked you not to disappoint him. He believed in his dad. Fine, go to work, you idiot, and she hung up. Her strong character wouldn't let her cry, although perhaps it would have been better for her health to let it out. She held back, and so a heavy weight remained where her heart beat. She took some tranquilizers and felt sleepy. Wrapping herself in a robe, she lay down on the couch and, as soon as she turned off the light, fell into a restless sleep. Jeremy had a hard time convincing Camilla to stay alone for a few hours. She seemed to be very moody, or perhaps she was just playing a cruel role, acting as though her body was struggling with the pregnancy and needed to be protected. And to protect her, a wise and caring person needed to be by her side constantly. After all, she was a delicate, fragile woman in need of love and attention. He promised her all of this as soon as he returned. At that moment, he was in a rush to get home, willing to promise anything. He needed to see his son and Carly to talk. After the disgraceful humiliation he experienced the previous evening, he felt cold inside. Having fallen in his son's eyes, he wanted to disappear. The shame was overwhelming. With heavy feelings, he headed home. As soon as he entered the apartment, Camilla started calling, demanding his immediate return. After the second call, he stopped listening to her complaints and simply turned off his phone. His son was his priority now. But he was too late, and no one was home. The smell of freshly brewed coffee lingered, indicating they had left recently. He sat down at the table, deep in thought. He had a premonition that if he left now, it would be forever. His son would never forgive him. Never. The strangest part was that Camilla's pregnancy didn't bring him joy. He couldn't understand this paradox. Why wasn't there the same bright happiness he had felt with Carly? He wandered around the apartment, tormenting himself. Then he decided to call his son. Jeremy frantically dialed the number, but the phone was off, likely due to class. Taking a piece of paper and a pen, he pondered for a long time about what to write in his defense, but everything that came to mind seemed stupid. In the end, he wrote only one word, sorry. He left the keys in the hallway, took Camilla's bag, and shut the door. He lingered on the landing, looking back and mentally saying goodbye. He couldn't explain his feelings of hopelessness and sadness as he left the home that once held so much happiness. That same day, he and Camilla flew back. A week later, they filed for marriage and got married, but joy never entered their home. Everything was bad. The pregnancy was difficult, Camilla gained a lot of weight, and she swelled up. The doctors insisted on hospitalizing her until the birth. One day, she felt particularly unwell. He took her to the hospital again. It seemed like just another routine visit, but today he was very anxious. Camilla wouldn't let him leave for a moment, holding his hand the entire time. Don't leave, I'm scared. I feel like I'm going to die. What are you talking about? Nobody dies in childbirth anymore. Don't say such things. Everything will be fine, just hang in there, dear. However, Jeremy couldn't shake his unease. The more he tried to comfort her, the heavier his heart felt. Modern medicine had made great strides, and many women had been saved from worse situations. Yet something was off. He stroked her hair, kissed her lips, and she would fall asleep still clutching his hand. Then suddenly, she would wake and start complaining again. And again, he would soothe her. The doctors advised him to go home, assuring him that they would call immediately if there were any updates. That night began with bleeding. The birth was 2 weeks premature, and there was a high risk of losing the mother. Everything was going wrong. She couldn't deliver the baby on her own. Her dry, cracked lips whispered that she had no strength left. Now she regretted not being more diligent about regular checkups with specialists, but there was no point in dwelling on the past. During the birth, the doctors closely monitored her condition, tracking her pulse, respiration rate, and blood pressure. They detected arrhythmia, complicating an already difficult labor. "Take a rest, Camilla, and we'll try again," one of the doctors encouraged. "I can't. I have no strength," she whispered. "Please try, it's necessary. Come on." "I can't," she cried. Her condition worsened. Despite the doctor's best efforts, nothing worked. They realized even a C-section wouldn't save her, but they had to try. "Prepare for surgery, quickly. Camilla, don't close your eyes, can you hear us?" And then, the doctor noted her heart had stopped. They had done everything, but they couldn't save her. The baby girl was born healthy but small. Early in the morning, they called Jeremy to tell him he had a daughter. "What about Camilla? How is she?" he asked anxiously. "Your wife didn't make it. We did everything we could, but we couldn't save her. We're very sorry." "What do you mean she's gone?" The news hit him like a bolt of lightning. At first, Jeremy thought he had misheard. Now, his premonitions and bad feelings made sense. But they repeated that his wife was gone. He got into his car and sped to the hospital. But the doctors never saw the father of the newborn girl. Jeremy never made it. Just before reaching the hospital, he lost control of the car. The crash was horrific. As they pulled him from the wreck, the car exploded. It was blown to pieces. Jeremy survived, but he was in terrible shape. He drifted in and out of consciousness, overwhelmed by pain. His spine was damaged, his head injured, ribs and a leg broken. He was more pain than person. A week passed with little change. He would regain consciousness for a minute, then slip back into oblivion. During one of these moments, he managed to whisper something to a nurse. "Bill," he murmured. The nurse didn't understand and asked, "Who is that?" "Your friend." "Yes," he replied. Some time later, Bill received a call. The investigator handling the case informed him that Jeremy Stewart was on his deathbed and suggested he come quickly while Jeremy was still alive. "Phyllis, we have a problem. Jeremy was in a car accident, and his wife died in childbirth. There's a little girl left, effectively an orphan. I need to get to him immediately, he needs my help. But I'm not letting you go alone. We'll go together. After all, I'm a lawyer. My help might be needed. Thank you. It's always better with you. Do you think we should inform Carly about this? I think we should hold off for now. She has her own life, and after Jeremy's betrayal, she has no ties to him. Let me pack our bags while you book the tickets." From the airport, they went straight to the hospital. Meeting with the doctors, they realized the situation was even worse than they had feared. There was little hope that Jeremy would survive. Seeing Bill, Jeremy smiled as much as his pain allowed. It was more a grimace than a smile. To hear him, Bill had to lean in and place his ear close to Jeremy's mouth. "Stay in our apartment for now. Bury Camilla. Sell her business, then the apartment." That was all he could manage that day. Phyllis immediately explained that to do all this, they would need a power of attorney. She could draft it, but how would he sign it? They would need to bring in a notary, his attending physician, and the investigator to witness the voluntary signing of the documents. It was a serious matter. "You stay here, and if he regains consciousness, ask if Camilla has any relatives. It's important." Phyllis then went to meet with the investigator. Jeremy's condition remained critical. He didn't regain consciousness that day or the next. It was only on the third day that he opened his eyes and, seeing Bill, smiled again. Bill's heart broke at that smile. Holding his friend's hand, he asked if Camilla had any relatives. Jeremy strained, tried to say something, and then fell silent. Speaking was so difficult and quiet that it took great effort to understand that, after her mother's death, Camilla had no family left. Once Jeremy had rested a bit, they proceeded with the power of attorney. Fortunately, Phyllis managed to gather everyone while Jeremy was conscious. She placed the pen in his hand, and he managed to sign with difficulty. The notary stamped and certified the document. Phyllis then organized Camilla's funeral, making sure everything was done properly. That evening, she had a serious conversation with her husband. It was time to make some decisions. What are we going to do about the baby girl? Jeremy is silent. And we need to sort this out before we leave. The apartment is easier, there are already interested buyers, but the beauty salons are trickier. I'll wait for now, we still have some time. The next morning, there was a knock on their hotel room door. The man standing there gave the impression of being solid and respectable. Tall, with gray hair, a well-spoken manner, unhurried and charming, he immediately put the couple at ease. His name was Samuel. Wait, I recognize you. You were at the cemetery and left a large bouquet of roses. Yes, that's correct. Camilla loved roses. She adored them. As you probably guessed, she was my love. I bought her the apartment and the business. Don't be surprised, I fell for her like a schoolboy. Madly, like it was the first time. I was even ready to divorce my wife. Otherwise, it felt dishonest, but my wife fell seriously ill. I couldn't leave a woman who had once taken care of me, especially not in her dire state. Camilla didn't want to wait, and then she met your friend. She told me she loved him. It was hard, but I was happy for her. Do you know that Camilla has a daughter? We're not sure who the father is. Could she be your child? No, no. Camilla and I remain just friends. Everything was fine, but after I buried my wife, the girl will need a mother. So, I can't take her in. Samuel explained the purpose of his visit. It turned out he was willing to buy Camilla's business. Phyllis named a price, and they reached an agreement. The next day, when Bill and his wife entered Jeremy's hospital room, it was a heartbreaking sight. He lay there with his eyes open, staring fixedly at a single point. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken. Seeing his friend by the bed, he struggled to say something, clearly in pain as he tried to speak. "Take my daughter," he finally managed to say. They barely understood what he meant. Jeremy paused, gathering his strength, and whispered again. "Phyllis always wanted a child. Now she will have one. Jeremy, are you sure she's your daughter?" He opened his eyes wide, his gaze fixed on Bill. Then, he seemed to stop. Forever. Jeremy had gone to a place from which there is no return. Bill closed his friend's eyes and broke down in tears. As Carly finished her work, she couldn't decide where to go. So, she called her son. "Mom, you should come home." Dad left again, and this time for good. "Why do you think so?" "He was here while we were out and left a note." "Guess what he wrote?" "I don't know. Maybe that he loves you and you'll see each other soon." "No, it was much shorter. Just one word, sorry, and that's it. I don't think he'll ever come back." "Mom, come home." Carly saw Sawyer every day. He was very supportive. He was hurt that she didn't come to him with her problems and instead went to a friend and planned to live alone in a small apartment. But Carly explained that the right decisions always come in silence. That's why she sought solitude. They arrived home together with Sawyer. On the way, they picked up some treats to cheer up Roddy, who was naturally worried about his father's sudden departure. "Hello, Sawyer. Come on in. I've already put the kettle on. We'll have some tea soon," Roddy greeted them. "You're such a good boy," his mother praised him. "How are your studies?" Everything's fine, Mom, you know that. That evening, for the first time, they had engaging conversations at the table, and the family stayed up late. Carly hadn't realized how knowledgeable her son was and how well he understood art. She was surprised by how independent his opinions were. She looked at him and thought about how much he resembled his father, and how significantly Jeremy's views had influenced him during their time together. To Jeremy's credit, he had genuinely invested a lot in their son. They both devoted all their free time to Roddy, living for him. Jeremy raised him not just with words but by example. They had set up a serious workshop together, a place that fostered creativity, and Roddy had made significant progress. School exhibitions were a thing of the past. He was now operating at a higher level. In a month, there would be a citywide exhibition, and he was preparing for it seriously. The lectures Jeremy had given him and all the lessons were paying off. For this, Carly had Jeremy to thank. But which Jeremy? The one who was now a distant memory. When they finished dinner, an awkward silence fell over the room for a moment. "When are you two getting married?" Roddy suddenly asked. Caught off guard by the question, Carly and Sawyer looked at each other and burst out laughing. "Where did that come from?" "Well, my mom is getting married, and I should know when, right? After all, she's my mom." "Son, are you sure? You haven't changed your mind?" "No, you deserve to be happy. You must be, no matter what." "Thank you, my dear. Then we'll file for marriage tomorrow, and we'll get married in a month." "Why so long? Why a whole month?" Roddy wondered. "They give you time to think it over before taking such a serious step." "Got it. Well, good night then." Left alone, they basked in the wonderful evening's atmosphere. They sat, looking at each other, dreaming about how good their life together would be. Before adopting the girl, Bill decided to do a DNA test. It was important to him to know if she was really Jeremy's child. If she was, then their family would have a part of his friend. The test confirmed it. Samuel and his attending physician, who had significant connections in the city, assisted with the adoption process, that he also quickly handled all the paperwork for the sale of the business. They just needed to sign the documents. Since the girl was the sole heir, her new parents put all the proceeds from the sale of the business and apartment into her account until she came of age. After burying their friend next to his wife, they returned to Chicago with the most precious cargo. They needed to give the girl a name, but they didn't know which one yet. They argued for a long time and had their first ever fight. Then they agreed to name her after her mother. So she became Camilla Abbott. From the sold apartment, they took photo albums, Jeremy's paintings, and Camilla's treasures. Of course, all of this was intended for their daughter when she grew up. This is how life completely changed for the Abbott family. They were mentally prepared for the changes, but many things turned out differently than they imagined. However, it was too late to be afraid. The girl was home and already demanding attention. At night, the baby could not sleep. Phyllis walked her on her arms, recalling all the lullabies. There were nights, though, when everyone could get some rest. As for Carly, the month given to her by Sawyer was coming to an end. It was a good reason to invite Bill and Phyllis to a celebratory dinner. "Phyllis, hello, come with your husband to our house for our wedding celebration." Phyllis froze. She desperately thought about what to tell Carly. Should she tell her about the tragedy? But she quickly decided not to spoil the mood before such a celebration and simply thanked her for the invitation. They didn't plan to go, of course. Firstly, they weren't in the mood. The image of the dying Jeremy in the hospital room still haunted them. And secondly, they had no one to leave Camilla with. It was best to postpone this conversation. Let them find out about everything after the wedding. The wedding went wonderfully. But the next day, Carly began to inquire why Bill and Phyllis didn't come. Sensing Carly's offense in her voice, Phyllis answered as gently as possible. "Carly, come to our place, dear, we have a lot to tell you." And to show you. You're scaring me. Don't be afraid, darling, don't be. Just come. But it's important. And can I bring my husband? Yes, of course, certainly. Come together. Phyllis greeted her with the child in her arms. Hello. And who do we have here? Such a beautiful little girl. This is our daughter, Camilla. Carly was taken aback. Her smile froze, becoming somewhat strained and puzzled. Then her face became serious as she walked into the room and saw that it was not a joke at all. A baby crib, bottles, diapers. Everything indicated that the girl lived here. Something had happened in this family that Phyllis couldn't start talking about. By the way, meet my husband, Sawyer. Pleased to meet you, come in, sit down. After a few sentences, when everyone was seated, an awkward silence fell. There was an unspoken question in the air. And then, overcoming herself, Phyllis spoke with a trembling voice and awkwardly, with pain. Carly, this is Jeremy and his wife Camilla's child. Surprise reflected on the woman's face. It froze there. Jeremy? A child? Yes, Camilla died in childbirth. Jeremy is no more. He was going to the hospital to her and got into a car accident. A tragedy. The girl was left an orphan, and Bill and I adopted her. That's what Jeremy wanted. Carly straightened up in her chair, wanting to ask something, but couldn't. She seemed to be numb for a few seconds, and then, coming to herself, she said heavily, through force. I can't believe he's dead. I feel like he's on a business trip. Yes, on a business trip and will come to see his son soon. Her eyes remained dry, her gaze became detached, staring somewhere far away, but her trembling hands betrayed her state. She put them on the table, found some napkin and began to fiddle with it, murmuring something. Sawyer and Phyllis awkwardly averted their eyes, they didn't know what to do in these situations. Carly brought her hands to her face, stayed silent for a while, and then continued in a detached voice. It's all so strange and incomprehensible. It's absurd to think that we'll never see him again. He was here, and suddenly he's gone. Carly, you'll have to get used to this thought. Despite all his flaws, we cared deeply about him. Jeremy meant a lot to us, and he was talented. We, like you, will have to adjust to living without him. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I could have helped with something. Carly, everything was very unclear and complicated. We didn't want to change anything. And when we got there, we just did as he asked. We sold the apartment, his wife's business, and put everything in this little girl's account. She will find out everything in due time, Phyllis said, gently hugging the girl close. Over these 2 days, the girl became so dear and beloved. And did he leave anything for Roddy? She looked at Phyllis with eyes full of sorrow, waiting. Phyllis had been struggling from the beginning. She understood that sooner or later, this question would come up. But what to do? Lie. And now, confidence came. For the greater good, sometimes, especially in such situations, you have to lie. It's a lie for the greater good. Yes, Carly, he did. He asked for your forgiveness and said that he always loved you. We'll go, Carly said quietly. She awkwardly got up, swaying a bit, and somehow made her way to the exit. Silently, she sat in the back seat of the car. Her husband took the wheel. Throughout the journey, one thought tormented her. What to tell her son? How would he cope with his father's death? A sudden, unexpected, and such a senseless death. It was only recently that there was upheaval with divorce, then with parting ways, and now. Now he had to face something even more terrible and harsh. Irreversible. Roddy immediately noticed his mother's strange state. When she silently walked past him into the bedroom, without even looking his way. What's wrong? He asked Sawyer. He put a finger to his lips and called him into the kitchen. He himself didn't know how to deal with a child whose father died a few days ago, but he felt that he needed to talk to him and explain everything as it was. "What's wrong with Mom? Why is she acting so strange?" Roddy asked, scared. "Women, they take everything to heart. But we, you and I, are men, so we must be strong and support Mom." Yes, of course, I understand everything. Roddy, you're a grown-up guy, strong. And what I'm about to tell you, you must accept as calmly as possible. Like a real man. Although, of course, I understand that it will be difficult. Are you ready? Your dad got into an accident and died. And Mom only found out about it now. Of course, it was a tragedy for him to lose not only his father but also his mentor and teacher. Roddy stood there and cried. He cried bitterly. Sawyer hugged the boy, but didn't comfort him, believing that releasing such energy through tears was a blessing. Then, when the first tears passed, they talked for a long time about life and death. Sawyer was surprised to learn that Roddy had his own philosophical view on this. To distract him from new tears, Sawyer asked about his father. About how he was an artist, how he taught his son to love this craft. And Roddy led Sawyer to the workshop and showed his father's paintings. Then he showed his own. "My dad painted this picture not long ago. And you know, he wanted me to finish it. He said I needed to work on it. But I won't touch anything in it. Let it remain as a memory of him. I'll take it to the exhibition, and it will hang in the most prominent place," he said, running his hand over the canvas. "You're a good lad, Roddy. You reason very well." They talked a bit more, and then Roddy, like a grown man, thanked his for their support and said he wanted to be alone for a while. In an instant, he seemed to age 5 years, realizing that not only Sawyer should support his mom, but also her son, who was becoming a man. Later, after calming down, Roddy went to his mother's room. She was lying indifferently on the bed, staring at the ceiling. However, upon seeing her son, she sat heavily on the edge of the bed and, in a pained voice, said they needed to talk. She struggled for a long time to find the words to tell her son about what had happened, but a treacherous lump in her throat hindered her from starting. "Mom, I know everything. Sawyer told me. I know what happened to Dad. We talked a lot with Sawyer, discussed many things, and you know, he helped me. I feel better now. I understood the main thing, I am not alone. Yes, Dad is gone. But there will always be someone by my side. There will be friends, acquaintances, and, most importantly, I have you. Right? And I need to become a man faster. I'm ashamed to cry now. And you know, Mom, I'm here for you. I will always be here for you. I'm already a man. It's just a pity that Dad didn't have time to teach me everything," he said, breaking into tears again. Carly hugged him tightly. She was grateful to her husband for sparing her from this conversation. She doubted she could have handled it better and more delicately than Sawyer. "Sweetie, you should know. Now you have a little sister. She's very small, and her name is Camilla. Dad had a child with this woman. And this little girl is your half-sister. Where is she? Who is she with?" Roddy asked. "She's with Bill and Phyllis. They'll raise her as their own daughter. When she grows up a bit, we'll go meet her." Sawyer was right. We need to move on and remember only the good things about Dad. Before the exhibition, Bill came to visit them. He suggested displaying Roddy's paintings alongside his father's paintings at the exhibition. The same ones he brought from the sold apartment. Roddy agreed. He understood how important it was for him and how important it was for his late father. "That's the right decision, you're doing great. Your dad would be very proud of such a talented person. You're a worthy heir to his legacy. And it's clear that the period when these paintings were made was the most fruitful for your dad," he said, shaking Roddy's hand and promising to come to the exhibition to support the young artist. At home, he told Phyllis how thoughtful Jeremy's son had become. With enthusiasm, He spoke about how Roddy was following in his father's footsteps, and it was wonderful. In the last few days before the exhibition, Roddy spent a lot of time in the workshop, with many tasks falling on his shoulders. Bill often called, advising him. And finally, this important day arrived. It was wonderful that the exhibition organizers agreed to display his father's paintings. They were placed at the entrance to the hall, alongside the paintings of his son, demonstrating the continuity of generations. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. Immediately after that exhibition, Roddy was offered to transfer to a school with an in-depth study of subjects in the art cycle. Here, as part of the school program, he could practice drawing and painting daily. There were other advantages too: a more interesting and fulfilling school life, participation in exhibitions and competitions, trips to picturesque places for outdoor painting. The boy's eyes literally lit up, and after consulting with his mother, he agreed. Now he had many exciting changes ahead of him. In his thoughts, he thanked his father for the first lessons, for instilling in him a love for this art form. He was proud that he hadn't let his father down and knew for sure that Dad would be happy with his success. It also happened that there were people at the exhibition who wanted to buy Jeremy's paintings. Roddy, feeling lost, looked at Bill. "Decide for yourself, Roddy. They're yours. Of course, you can sell them, but I suggest you wait. In time, they will increase in value. Also, I advise you to make a catalog of your father's paintings so that you have all his works in front of you." Bill looked at Carly and said he could recommend a good photographer. The main thing was to take high-quality artistic photos. And when they were ready, they could make a beautiful catalog of Jeremy's paintings. The idea was tempting, and Carly promised to consider it. Bill left only one painting for little Camilla from the exhibition, the one where Jeremy painted her mother. In it, the older Camilla was depicted sitting in an antique chair, with a shawl draped over her shoulders. She was very beautiful, her gaze lively, and her face enlightened. There was also a small sketch where she stood with a bouquet of roses, her face hardly visible, only her eyes radiating joy and happiness. Jeremy managed to capture the mood of her beautiful eyes, but he didn't have time to finish this work. Bill believed that the rest of the paintings should belong to Roddy. He was the one continuing his father's legacy. When they returned home, everyone sat down at the table to celebrate such an event. They hung the certificate for first place on one of the walls in the workshop. It was perhaps Roddy's first serious success, and everyone hoped it wouldn't be the last. A year passed after those tragic events. Camilla was growing up, trying to walk and speak something in her own language. No one could understand her yet, but it seemed she enjoyed speaking. After a year had passed, a new task arose: they needed to visit Jeremy's grave and decide on a monument. Of course, Phyllis couldn't go, she was busy with her daughter. But Bill thought it wouldn't hurt to suggest to Carly to let Roddy go with him. It was a good opportunity to show her son his father's grave. Honestly, Carly didn't want to go there, but she couldn't let Roddy go alone either. After thinking about it, she replied that she and her son would join him at the airport. When Bill and Carly arrived, they immediately took a taxi to the cemetery. Much had changed at the cemetery over the year. Bill was pleasantly surprised when he saw Jeremy's monument. It warmed his heart. He immediately guessed that only Samuel could have done this. There are indeed decent and honest people out there. Roddy placed flowers on his father's grave, and Bill laid a bouquet for his friend and Camilla. Carly was glad that her son saw his father's final resting place. He could always come here on his own later. And for her, a certain stage in life had ended. As Camilla grew older, she increasingly resembled her mother, unfortunately, not just in appearance. Yes, she was becoming very beautiful, slender, inheriting her father's curly hair. She loved playing with her brother, as he was the only one patient enough to endure her whims. So she constantly waited for him and tearfully let him go, sincerely considering Roddy her possession. Carly didn't like it when her son went to visit them. Perhaps jealousy spoke in her. She always found things for Roddy to do whenever he said he was going to see Camilla. "Mom, you don't like it when I go there, do you? Mom, you're becoming someone I don't recognize. You become all angry as soon as I mention going to their place. Mom, what's wrong with you?" And Carly got angry. Angry at herself for feeling jealous. Angry at her son for sensing it. She didn't like that the girl, who was a little copy of her mother, clung to Roddy, just as her mother once clung to Jeremy. Already in her small figure, there was some kind of cunning and something reminiscent of a little predator, if you could even say that about a child. The little girl was already manipulating those around her, considering everyone her toy and her possession. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell anyone about it because anyone would stand up for the little one. No one would believe her. But what could she do if she felt that way? Mother only asked her son to visit less often because it made her feel calmer. The boy nodded but promised. Years passed unnoticed. Roddy graduated from school and then the same university as Jeremy. Bill became his mentor. To sell your paintings, he taught him, you need to be famous. You have to promote your name. If you're popular, you'll find admirers. Understand? Your paintings are very worthy, but no one knows about them yet. One option to tell people about yourself is to create a website on the internet. Start with that. The internet is the most accessible way to announce yourself to the world. Friends and collectors will see you. And it's even better to not just have a website but a website with good articles. Write, for example, tips for beginners. Remember how my father gave you lessons. Tell them what he taught you. People will be drawn to you. They'll trust you, recommend you to others. That's how fame gradually comes. Roddy listened to this advice. And soon the website started working for him. At first, he was invited to exhibitions because of his father, but they also asked him to bring his own paintings. But after some time, his paintings also became popular. Alongside his paintings, he exhibited his father's paintings. Exhibition organizers really liked this combination of paintings by father and son. It looked very touching and gave the viewer some variety. While examining Jeremy's paintings, visitors could immerse themselves in the beauty of nature. And Roddy's paintings showed a bright taste of still life color and his passion for portraits. They were his best. His favorite portrait work was of a beautiful little child. He named this portrait Sister. Carly couldn't stand this portrait. And she advised him not to take it with him, but one day he disobeyed and exhibited it at an exhibition. The portrait found buyers right away. Roddy felt sorry to part with it, but to avoid irritating his mother, he decided to sell it. Then he, along with other young artists, was invited to an exhibition in Italy. As usual, he took his father's paintings with him too. 2 paintings from his father's collection were sold for very large sums in Italy. The exhibition was a success. On the last day of this exhibition, he saw a girl standing next to his painting, Autumn Gifts, and she had been standing there for a long time. Interested, he approached her and spoke up. "What's your name?" "Valerie." "My name is Valerie." "Beautiful name, and I'm Roddy." She extended her hand, and that's how they met. They talked for about an hour, exchanged phone numbers, and parted ways. With this, his stay in Italy, along with all the other artists he came with, came to an end, and they could head home. The biggest stroke of luck for him this time, he considered meeting Valerie. He really liked her. There was something soulful about her. While her features were fresh in his memory, he quickly sketched a portrait on a sheet of paper and decided to finish it at home. Meanwhile, Carly's birthday was approaching. 45 years old. A wonderful age when a measured life is just beginning. She had everything, a beloved husband, a wonderful son, a job she cherished. What else did she need for happiness? She asked the Lord for only one thing, a child. Yes, they wanted a child. Sawyer was a wonderful father, judging by his relationship with Roddy. He never reproached her for not having children together. Yes, that wasn't necessary. She wasn't a foolish woman and understood everything. But still, in the hospital, she consulted with a doctor. I understand you, Carly. You really want a child. Roddy has grown up, and there's unspent love left. You're healthy. Relax, enjoy closeness with your husband, and everything will work out. When will it work out? When I retire. Well, retirement is far off for you. Don't dwell on it. And has your husband been checked too? Yes, he's healthy too. Well, that's wonderful. Love each other, and everything will be fine. Preparations for the birthday distracted Carly from these thoughts. Relatives from a distant town decided to come and congratulate her on such a beautiful date. Her sisters and brothers had long since grown up. They all got married, but none of them dared to move so far away from home as their eldest sister did many years ago. It was extraordinary. But 10 people were coming for her. Sisters with husbands, brothers with wives. The parents stayed home with the grandchildren. David, the father, was still quite strong, but Lydia, the mother, often fell ill. To accommodate the numerous relatives, Carly booked hotel rooms for them. And then the day arrived. The son prepared to be the first to congratulate his mom. He got up early, got himself ready, and called Carly into the workshop. A surprise needed to be made. So Roddy asked his mom to come into the workshop with her eyes closed. And when she opened them, she saw her portrait. Sweetheart, am I really this beautiful? Mom, you're 100 times better. I'm just a bad artist. I can't capture all these beautiful and perfect features on canvas. She stood before the portrait and cried. Standing with her hair down, eyes wet with tears, she thanked her son. In that gratitude, everything merged: pride in her child's achievements, satisfaction with proper upbringing, love, and much more. When did you manage to paint it? I've never seen you do that before. I didn't paint it here. I was in Bill's studio. It was convenient for me there. He's a magnificent master, advised me on how to do everything better. And I picked the frame myself. Thank you, Roddy, thank you, my son, this is the best gift of my life. She wanted to hang the portrait in her bedroom right away to admire her son's work. While she admired the portrait, which she was thrilled with, her husband approached from behind and gently draped a luxurious fur coat over her shoulders. She literally drowned in this soft fur. She felt like a goddess to herself. Turning to her husband to thank him, she was delighted to see a huge bouquet of roses in his hands. Oh my God, how many are there? Carly, exactly 45. Extraordinary beauty, she could only say. She stood among her beloved men and the gift, wiping her eyes from tears, and it was happiness. Thank you, my dearest. That's how this wonderful day began. But these were not all the surprises prepared by the men. In the midst of the evening, when many toasts had been made and a lot of champagne had been drunk, her son approached her and invited her to dance. They stepped onto the dance floor, and with a wave of his hand, her favorite song immediately began to play. And again, tears. And again, she hugged her son and didn't let go until the end of the dance, and at the end, they received thunderous applause from moved guests. Leslie, her loyal and only friend, with whom they had been friends for many years, supporting and helping each other, made a nice toast about friendship. And then there were many more smart and kind toasts. Carly had never experienced so many emotions and joy directed towards her. But the evening was coming to an end. The guests dispersed, grateful to the hostess, and the men carried gifts and flowers to the car. The last to leave were Phyllis and Bill, thanking Carly for the wonderful evening. Back home, lying in bed, Carly and Sawyer warmly reminisced about the evening. Roddy is such a sweetheart, inviting me to dance. Did he come up with that himself? Yes, of course, he did. I just suggested that it would be nice to do it to your favorite song. And then he arranged everything with the guys. He's a great kid. He loves you a lot. He just idolizes you. And you? Carly was surprised. What about me? Well, do you love me? Darling, let me tell you, I'll be answering that question until my last days. Yes. She was satisfied with the answer and fell asleep in his arms. After the birthday, life returned to its usual routine. The guests dispersed, the usual cares returned, home, work, brief meetings with friends. Strangely, however, she couldn't shake off the feeling of anxiety all day today. Her first thoughts were about her son and husband. Fortunately, everything was fine with them. But the feeling of anxiety didn't go away. She tried to understand what was wrong, but her thoughts couldn't find a rational explanation. It was already quite dark when Carly returned home from work. She struggled up the stairs. The elevator had been out of order for the past 2 days. It was pouring rain outside. Water dripped from the umbrella, and before entering the apartment, she shook it off and started looking for her keys. She knew there was no one in the apartment. Sawyer had gone to a conference for oncology surgeons, and Roddy had flown to meet his Valerie. Lately, they had been constantly communicating via Skype. Their conversations could last well past midnight, and it was evident that her son was in love. He was glowing, as lovers often do. His mother didn't mind. She only asked him not to rush and always use reason rather than emotions. She felt cold. She poured herself a hot tea to warm up. With each sip of this delicious hot drink, warmth spread throughout her body. Her thoughts returned to the evening before. Carly always loved to take a walk after work, and tonight she felt like taking a stroll. It was quite cool, and she enjoyed herself thoroughly. Then sitting on a bench in the park near her home, after a while she felt chilled, but for some reason, she didn't hurry to leave. As if she was waiting for someone. Couples hurried past her, and her feeling of anxiety grew. Then Carly realized that a strange feeling of profound loneliness and abandonment had been added to it. She sat completely alone, unwanted by anyone, while passers-by rushed somewhere, and they had no concern for her. And then she decided to go home. Just as Carly was about to leave, a woman sat down next to her. Apparently, like her, not in a hurry to go anywhere. "Do you live nearby?" Carly asked. "No, I don't live here," the stranger replied in a hoarse voice. "And my house is over there," Carly pointed with her hand to the end of the park. "I know," the woman replied. "You do?" Carly was surprised. "How?" "I know a lot about you." "And what exactly?" "Well, for example, that you're going to have a daughter soon. The birth will be difficult, but the baby will be healthy." "Who are you?" "Why do you think I'll believe you?" "I'm not even pregnant." "Because you know I'm right." "Goodbye." "I'm a doctor," I would have felt if a new life was developing in my body. But the strange woman wasn't listening anymore, and her words echoed into emptiness. She was already far away. It was even strange how quickly she left, or disappeared. As soon as the stranger disappeared from sight, a strong wind picked up, accompanied by pouring rain and thunder. She needed to get up and run, but she felt as if she were glued to the bench. And the rain kept pouring and pouring, yet for some reason, she couldn't muster the strength to even open her umbrella. Completely soaked, she made an effort, opened her umbrella, and struggled to get up and walk home. But the rain kept drenching her. What about the umbrella? Why wasn't it protecting her from the downpour? Or maybe there wasn't an umbrella at all. Then where was it? She distinctly remembered having it, and she distinctly remembered opening it. So where was that cursed umbrella? Carly woke up when the balcony door was blown open by the wind. Immediately, it became cold and damp. She shivered and quickly got up to close it. So, it was just a dream. Wasn't it? It felt so real, like a color movie. She did sit on a bench in the park, but as it got dark and the rain started, she headed home. All she wanted now was to return to that dream, to see it through, to meet that woman again, and ask her many questions. Carly couldn't even tell anyone about the dream, they simply wouldn't understand. She lay in bed, placed her hand on her stomach, and at that moment, she felt the strongest need to protect her happiness. Just the thought of losing that happiness shook her to the core. Losing it due to some oversight. So the entire night passed, and in the morning, Carly went to work. On her way to work, for some reason, she decided to pass through the park, past that very bench where she had met the strange woman in her dream. Of course, there was no one there. She sat on the bench for a few minutes, looked around. Passers-by hurried past, no one cared about her. Finally, Sawyer returned. He came back with flowers and gifts, immediately called his wife at work, and told her he was waiting for her at home. This forced separation for 10 days was the first time it had happened to them, and it revealed a lot. It showed the sincerity of their feelings because before that, they had always been together, at home, at work, on vacation. So it was hard for both of them to bear the absence of their beloved. And when the long-awaited reunion finally happened, they were engulfed in the rekindled feelings. Fresh, as if they were just beginning. In reality, it was that same love, genuine, that many dream of. She decided not to tell her husband about the strange dream. She didn't have any explanations for herself either. When everything became clear, her husband would be the first to know about this joyful event. Since she had the dream, a week had passed. Every time she fell asleep, she wished to see that stranger again, to ask when everything would happen. But she never dreamt of her again. And then, 10 days later, during a meeting with the chief physician, she suddenly felt unwell. "Well, my dear," the gynecologist said, looking at the blood test results. "You are pregnant. Congratulations." "Thank you," Carly whispered, wiping away tears. At that moment, a concerned Sawyer arrived. "Hello, Sawyer. What's wrong with her? Is it something serious?" "Of course. What did you think? Being parents is always serious. Congratulations. Take care of your wife." Her head was spinning, and she thought it was from happiness. They had succeeded. They had achieved what they wanted, and their dream of becoming parents would soon become a reality. Over evening tea, Carly told her husband about that strange, now seemingly prophetic dream. "You understand," she told her spouse. "This strange dream was so vivid, it felt like I was watching a real color movie. I could tell exactly where I was and even which bench I was sitting on. I wanted to finish it so badly, but then the balcony door opened with such a noise that I woke up. But now it doesn't matter anymore. We need to live through these 9 months calmly, so that the baby is born healthy." Their conversation was interrupted by a phone call. As soon as Carly saw that her son was calling, the first thing she told him was that he would have a little sister. "Mom, am I understanding correctly? A sister? I'm going to have a sister." "Yes, that's right, son. Well, congratulations to you and Sawyer. From the bottom of my heart, Mom. Valerie and I will be in Chicago in a week. I want to rent an apartment for a month. Why, can't you stay with us?" "We can. But it would be a bit inconvenient. We want some privacy. Our own routine. Our own schedule." "Okay then. In that case, you don't need to rent an apartment. Stay in Sawyer's apartment. The tenants just moved out, there was a thorough cleaning, everything is clean and cozy. Will Sawyer mind that we decided without him?" "It's okay, just come. The main thing is for you to come. Come get the keys, and we'll also meet your Valerie. Maybe have dinner." "Sure, let's cook something. Sound good?" "No, Mom, don't be upset, but we'll just come for the keys." "Okay." She hung up and pondered. Her son had become a grown man, almost imperceptibly matured. Living with a woman. As a mother, she didn't like it. She had been raised differently, but young people these days pay no attention to marriage. What a shame. Time flew by so fast that yesterday's little Camilla was already being prepared for first grade. She was a beautiful girl with doll-like facial features and curly hair. Her character was stubborn, complex, but for now, they could still reason with her. At the age of 5, they told her the truth about her real parents. Surprisingly, she took it calmly, just handling the photograph more often, the one that always stood on Bill's desk. It depicted her real mom and dad. They were very young and very beautiful. Phyllis was against revealing the truth about the real parents so early. But psychologists advised that the sooner, the better. Young children have a very resilient psyche, and they handle such news more calmly than older children. After the secret was revealed, nothing really changed. The girls still called them mom and dad, but now, whenever Phyllis tried to scold her for misbehavior, she would talk back to them. "Is it because I'm not your real daughter, huh? That's why you punish me? You don't love me at all. Of course, I'm not your real child, and there's no one to stand up for me. A real mom wouldn't do that." Phyllis was at a loss. Of course, she tried to explain to the little girl that such behavior was not acceptable, and her current behavior deserved punishment. It didn't matter if she was their biological daughter or adopted. A decent person at any age should understand that there are people around them, and a decent person knows that they need to respect them. But if you don't understand that, then it needs to be explained to you. And if even after explanations you still don't understand, then harsher measures need to be taken. Like not allowing you to play with gadgets. Or watch TV. I'm very sorry, Camilla, but believe me, you don't understand kind words. And you must understand that I'm forced to punish you. I'm doing this not for my own pleasure. I'm doing this for you. Even after such explanations, she could go for days without speaking to her parents. She would stay silent, enduring the pause. But then she would eventually approach her mother and start sweet-talking her, asking for something. But she never, absolutely never, apologized for her behavior. Sadly, she didn't have any talents either, unfortunately. She didn't like drawing, nor reading. But she loved posing in front of the mirror, like a professional model. Even modern dance classes didn't captivate her and quickly became boring. After such difficult disciplinary conversations and disputes, Phyllis felt drained, like a squeezed lemon. Horrible thoughts haunted her. If it's like this now, what will happen next? Oh God! Maybe they shouldn't have taken her in the first place. But after some reflection and calming down, she pulled herself together. And she scolded herself, feeling sorry for the poor child. Both parents accompanied Camilla to her first day of school. But from the very first days, complaints poured in about the girl. Arrogant, rude, she didn't want to sit with anyone at her desk. If she felt like it, she could stand up in the middle of class and leave. The mother was shocked and provided an opportunity for a disciplinary talk with the father. Yet the girl was slightly afraid of her father. The conversation lasted a long time. She left her father's office all red-faced and quiet. They lived peacefully for 2 months without any complaints. The parents relaxed a bit, but in vain. One evening, the parents of one of Camilla's classmates visited them, claiming that Camilla had allegedly beaten their daughter. "Well, excuse us, but she's quite unstable. She tells everyone that you're not her real parents, that she's not happy living with you, that you beat her, hence she's so nervous and unhappy. But you don't really look like abusive parents. So, is she also a liar with you? Are you aware that she tore our daughter's shirt? You know, you'll have to compensate for it." Phyllis didn't know what to do. Her daughter locked herself in her room and didn't come out. Suddenly, the mother loudly said, "I can't take it anymore. Since we're bad parents and Camilla is unhappy with us, I'll send her to an orphanage." She said it out loud, and she herself got scared by her thought. The girl became alert. She put her ear to the door and listened to what decision her parents would make. The news about the orphanage didn't sit well with her, but after some thought, she realized that her mother was just trying to scare her. Phyllis continued. I'll pack all her things now, and I'll take her there tomorrow, she said seriously, entering the girl's room and starting to pack her things in a bag. I always knew that you didn't love me. Would you send your real child to an orphanage? If my mom and dad were alive, this wouldn't have happened to me. And rightfully so, I'll be better off in the orphanage, she said, also starting to pack her things. Phyllis was taken aback for a moment, but then she decided not to stop. When everything was packed, she said seriously. We'll leave at 8 in the morning, Dad will take us, and she left the room. The woman cried all night, but she never came to a decision on what to do. At 7 in the morning, there was a quiet knock on their bedroom door. Come in. Phyllis said loudly. Mom, take me to school. I'll try not to upset you anymore, Camilla said. Fine, but first explain why you hit the girl and tore her shirt. She called me names, and I pushed her. But when I saw she was falling, I grabbed her shirt to support her, but it tore. But she didn't fall. Why do they all call me names? Why doesn't anyone want to be friends with me? Can you explain that to me? I can. What the girl called you was, of course, wrong. I'll go to school with you today and talk to her. But you act as if everyone owes you something. Understand that as much as we love you, nobody in the class should love you. And it doesn't matter if you're beautiful, tall, or short. Each of the girls considers herself beautiful, and you want to show everyone that only you are beautiful. Do you understand? I'm sorry, Mommy. It was her first sorry. They both hugged, shedding tears for a quarter of an hour, but then decided that the orphanage wasn't waiting for them. Phyllis realized that her daughter needed something captivating. It was necessary for the child to be occupied all the time, leaving no room for negative thoughts. When children have hobbies, they pour all their energy into them, so she started looking for something to engage Camilla. She thought about it all the time, reviewed a bunch of information, but Camilla didn't like any of her suggestions. A coincidence helped. Once, returning home from school with her daughter, Phyllis saw a huge colorful advertisement for a children's casting to participate in a fashion show. Seeing the sparkle in her daughter's eyes, the mother understood. That's what they needed. The search was successful. Well, maybe we should try this? Yes, Mommy, I really want to. But you have to be prepared for any outcome of this event. What do you mean? It means that they might not choose you. It might turn out that someone is better than you. That could happen too. Remember we already talked about this? I remember, but I'll be chosen. Just pick out some old ripped jeans and an old sweater for me, okay? Camilla, why ripped? You should wear something nice, you're a girl. Mom, I saw on TV how kids walk on the stage. It's called a runway. Yeah, on the runway. And you see, they're all the same there. But I don't want to be the same. I don't want to be like everyone else. You're right, you need to stand out. Maybe this will work. You're a smart girl. There was a week left until the casting. Along with her lessons, the girl prepared for her first ever exam and was determined to ace it. She watched kids on the internet and tried to mimic them. And according to her mother, she did it better. On the morning of the contest, Phyllis suggested that she do some unusual hairstyle, without ribbons and braids. So they did. And in this way, Camilla appeared before the commission. She really stood out from everyone because everyone was in dresses, and only she was in jeans. The commission selected 30 people out of 2,000, including Camilla. The girl was simply obsessed with the runway. Only the threat of not attending these sessions could make her do all her homework. It took the parents a lot of strength and patience for her to complete her secondary education. In high school, there were crushes and skipping classes. It was a difficult time, but her parents endured it. When she finished school, they inquired about which college she would attend, but the daughter stubbornly replied, none. With patience, the mother explained the importance of education. Life can bring various challenges. Beauty and youth will fade quickly, and one needs to have something else under their belt to ensure a decent life in the future. But success in modeling career got to the girl's head, and at 18, having signed a lucrative contract, she left for Italy. There, in Italy, at the age of 20, she married a modeler, slightly older than herself. Before the wedding, she came to her parents and told them about her plans. She had no desire to return. Bill presented her with a wedding gift on behalf of her parents. The savings turned out to be substantial. From themselves, they gifted their daughter a luxurious pearl necklace. Recently, Phyllis had been very ill, so the parents couldn't attend the wedding. Camilla became a famous model, traveled the world a lot, and never had time to have a child. She maintained contact with her parents, but couldn't come to their funeral, neither her mother's nor her father's, as she was on the other side of the globe. She appeared in Chicago to sell all the real estate and never returned. Camilla lived a vibrant life, overcoming failures and rejoicing in success. In the end, summing it up, she regretted nothing because she lived as she wanted. Carly, however, had a very difficult pregnancy. Her legs swelled terribly, and her back hurt so much that at times it seemed she wouldn't endure it anymore. Sawyer took on all the household duties. It was clear that she couldn't take care of everything. He cooked, washed dishes, did laundry, and cleaned as best as he could. So, day by day, the long-awaited day they both dreamed of approached. Exactly on the calculated date, a girl was born, an angel with light hair and blue eyes. The birth was very difficult, but Carly was mentally prepared for it. She stayed in the hospital a little longer than expected, but came out of there happy and rejuvenated. And a completely different life began, entirely devoted to this little warm bundle smelling of milk. Like all children, the baby got sick, cried at night, but the parents bravely endured all the difficulties. They named the girl Bethany. Roddy constantly lived in Sawyer's apartment. He liked the independence. His mother tried to attract him to delicious food, but the guy was not picky about food. He had lunch at work in the cafeteria and ate something light for dinner. He took care of himself. When Valerie visited, they spent a whole month together, after which the girl flew back home. Carly didn't like her. She was rude, careless in her attire, completely unladylike, and lacked manners. While talking to two adults, she never stopped chewing gum and looked at them with an absent gaze, as if those two respectable individuals were merely empty spaces. Despite the antipathy, the parents accepted their son's choice. After some thought, they decided not to interfere in his life. Let him decide how and with whom he wants to spend his time. He's an adult now. Roddy taught at the College of Design and Decorative Arts, lecturing on drawing, where his favorite subject was still life. He enjoyed lecturing and sharing his experience. Moreover, he was exceptionally good at it. He had a talent for explaining complex things, sparking enthusiasm and a desire to learn in his students. Although he was a young teacher, he felt quite confident, and the students loved him. But Roddy broke up with Valerie. When he went to Italy to see her during the Christmas holidays, he found her with someone else. He didn't accept her apologies and couldn't forgive the betrayal. Only now could he understand his mother, how difficult it was for her after his father's treacherous act. A beautiful, intelligent, kind young woman was abandoned by his father. And for whom? And he couldn't remember his mother ever yelling at him, taking out her anger on him. No, she was always kind to him, he felt her love and care. After the unsuccessful trip to Valerie, Roddy fell into depression. He had to go through this betrayal and start all over again. The Christmas holidays were coming to an end, which he was very glad about. At least something would distract him from sad thoughts. This new year wasn't starting off cheerfully for him. For the first time, he was alone on New Year's Eve. Carly called him several times, invited him over, but he didn't want to spoil his parents' holiday with his mood. After Bethany was born, it became a tradition to visit his parents on weekends. She would prepare a delicious lunch that smoothly transitioned into dinner. They would share news with each other about what had happened while they hadn't seen each other. And his little sister was growing right before his eyes. Roddy played with her, and despite the age difference, the brother and sister got along well, and the baby never cried in his arms. "Son, it's time for you to start your own family. You've practically had practical lessons in taking care of a child. Now all that's left is to find a wife. Is Valerie ready to be that wife? She's no longer in my life." "Really? What happened?" "Nothing. She's fine, but she's not with me anymore. While I was away, she found someone else." "Well, don't worry, son. That wasn't your woman. You deserve better. Stay, let's have another cup of coffee in the morning, and I'll be ready to wait for you again in a week." He didn't want to leave his parents that evening either. It was cozy and fun there, but at night, he regretted not going home. Bethany threw such a tantrum that it was impossible to sleep. Only towards morning did the child calm down, and everyone was able to get a little rest. In the morning, Roddy somehow managed to lift his head off the pillow, and when he went to the kitchen, the smell of fresh coffee greeted him. As soon as Roddy entered the classroom, all his fatigue disappeared. 15 pairs of eyes were looking at him, all so different. But after the third class, he felt tired again. The sleepless night was taking its toll, so after classes, he went home and went straight to bed. What bliss! Peace and quiet. On the day of the closing of another exhibition, Roddy's parents came to visit him. Carly congratulated her son on his success. Suddenly, Roddy noticed a young woman approach his mother from behind. She covered Carly's eyes with her hands, waiting for her to guess who was behind her. Carly looked to her son for a hint, but he remained silent. When she turned around, she saw her young colleague Melanie, who had come with friends to the exhibition. "Roddy, meet my colleague Melanie." She wasn't exactly a beauty, but she had a certain charm. She was petite and graceful. Roddy liked her, and his mother noticed it right away. Carly wanted Roddy to walk Melanie home, but she was with friends. So Carly decided to take matters into her own hands and called Melanie that evening, inviting her to visit on Sunday. Seeing Melanie at his parents' house made Roddy happy. He had been thinking about how to meet this girl again. Now he got a better look at her, and she at him. Within a couple of hours, they were drawn to each other, unable to take their eyes off one another. Suddenly, Melanie looked at her watch, quickly got up from the table, and started to leave. "Carly, thanks for the lovely dinner, but I need to go. It's getting late. Roddy will walk you home, right, son?" "Of course, I'd be happy to." After saying goodbye to the guests, Carly hurried back to the baby. The young couple continued to stroll in the park, not wanting to part. They finally separated only at dawn. Returning to his empty apartment, Roddy was overwhelmed by a sense of loneliness. Everything was clean, cozy, and beautiful, but it felt cold. Cold and lonely. Loneliness is a terrible thing. In addition to the fear of being alone, he was terrified of spending his life with the wrong person. He had already made one mistake, so despite liking Melanie, he didn't want to rush things. The lecture was in full swing when Roddy's phone rang. The students smiled because their teacher always reminded them to turn off their mobiles at the beginning of the lecture, but he had forgotten to do so himself. Melanie was calling, but he dismissed the call without answering. After all, he was in the middle of a lecture. When the lecture ended and the students left, he called her back. "Sorry, I couldn't answer. I was busy." "I understand, don't worry. I just needed to know your schedule so I can call during your break." They arranged to meet. In the summer, the lovers went to the seaside, and there's nothing better than a vacation spent with the person you love. They both enjoyed sitting on the beach, watching the waves come close and gently glide over their feet. They loved gazing at the horizon, imagining what might be beyond it. They had been together for almost 6 months and, amazingly, had never argued. Somehow, It just happened that way. Their views aligned on many things, and they only had minor disagreements about tastes. The days passed, autumn was ending, and it was a beautiful time of year. But then the weather turned, and the approach of winter, along with its beloved holiday, was felt. How quickly the year had flown by. Roddy bought a ring and planned to propose to Melanie at Christmas. When Carly found out, she was overjoyed. "Son, she's a wonderful person. She has a kind heart, and most importantly, she loves you." "How do you know that? Or are you just guessing?" "Well, if you promise not to tell anyone, I'll let you in on a big secret. She told me herself." "All right," Roddy replied with a smile. After this conversation, he felt more confident. Christmas is a romantic holiday. Roddy was very nervous. He opened the velvet box with the engagement ring and proposed to her. She literally squealed with surprise. Without hesitation, she said yes, as she had been waiting for this moment and was prepared for it. They spent the rest of the evening walking through the beautifully decorated city, repeatedly confessing their love for each other. It was the happiest Christmas of their lives. Roddy and Melanie got married and moved into Sawyer's apartment. Melanie had difficulty conceiving, which saddened the happy couple, but since they were both healthy, they just needed to be patient. 4 years later, they were blessed with a girl, and then a boy. Their son, Tom, later became a doctor, like his mother and grandmother, while their daughter, Gloria, became an artist. Carly adored her grandchildren, who were just a bit younger than her daughter. Bethany became a women's clothing designer, and when she married a famous lawyer, her husband helped her open a fashion house. They discussed what to name it, and her husband suggested the simplest option, using her own name. "Your name will then become your brand, and all your designs will be your signature pieces," he convinced her. She agreed. The Bethany fashion house thrived, and her parents were proud of her. Bethany made Carly a grandmother again when Carly was in her early 70s. Carly adored her grandchildren. If Carly had known earlier how wonderful it was to have grandchildren, she would have asked for them sooner.